Hello team, today's challenge is Winter Games Day 5, Cross Country Skiing, where we are given an array of the leaderboard from fastest to slowest, and we have to return an array that has the deltas, the difference between every other person and the leader being 0, right? So we're going to have to do a few steps to get there, but I think we can get this done, okay? The first is this time. Now, we can't use the date object because date requires a date, right? We can't just pass it an hour time. And in fact, this isn't an hour time, it's a duration, right? Which changes the game as well. Maybe in the future with something like temporal, we'll be able to get that done. But today, we're just going to do it the mathematic way, okay? So over here, we're going to start out by creating some new helper functions, okay? The first one is going to be 2secs for 2 seconds. That's going to take in our time, and we are going to do something with it, okay? What we're going to do is we are going to get hours. Let's plural it up because that's going to be easier, okay? Minutes and seconds like this. That comes off of time dot split, and we are splitting on those colons, okay? From here, we do some math, okay? But we can return directly so that it's easier. We don't need to calculate it and then do it. We can just do it. So the first part is the hours, okay? Now remember that everything that comes off of this split, it was a string, so we're splitting it. It is still a string, even if it's a number value, okay? So we're going to force that to be a number, okay? And then we times by 60 minutes, times by 60 seconds. Excellent, okay? We're going to add that. Grab this again, copy it, bring it down. We can even bring it over. It might just line up like that, okay? If that's something that interests you. Take away this part, change this to minutes, okay? So we have hours, we have minutes, and the last one being seconds, okay? We don't need to do anything special with seconds because we want it in seconds, right? That's pretty straightforward. So later on, we're going to be able to run each of our results through this to get a time in seconds. And that's how we're going to do the math, okay? That's very important. This is how we do the math, but we don't want it in seconds later on. We want it in this format, right? Where it looks like a time. So we need to create something to take it back, okay? That is our next function. So right here we have a function. We're going to call this format seconds. Is that what I did? Format time. Format time, I guess. Okay. Naming things is hard. Change it if you want. Okay. So this seconds. We might now the question here is, do we need the hours? I don't know. Okay. And because I don't know, I'm going to skip it today. I know that we don't need it for this challenge today, but for professional work, we might. So we might need some extra conditionals in there, something like that. Again, we don't need it today, but hedge your bets, okay? At least in professional work. Take into account what that might look like, okay? For the Olympics, they are dealing in seconds, sometimes smaller than that, right? Milliseconds. So I think we can skip hours today, okay? Which leads to minutes, okay? And minutes is going to be the seconds divided by 60, right? That's how we get minutes. It's all those seconds, but we don't want this to be a floating number, so we need to, not that way. We need to take this and math dot floor, okay? Just like this. That way we get an integer because the decimals are seconds. We just haven't converted them that way yet, right? So right here we have seconds. That's going to be equal to the same sort of thing. It's going to be secs, but this time we're going to do modulo 60, which returns an integer, right? And this actually becomes our seconds. And now we put it all together, okay? So right here, we have that ternary, okay? No, sorry, not ternary, template literal. Again, my name's wrong too, okay? And we have this and then this, okay? So the first one is minutes. We don't need to do anything with minutes. They didn't say that it needed to be like zero spaced or anything like that. We don't need to do that, okay? And then right here we have the seconds, okay? But the seconds needs to be zero based. Otherwise we'll have like 1:1 for 1 minute, 1 second. That's not right, okay? So in order to pad it out, right, we have pad start. Pad start only works for strings though. So we need to jump through some hoops and go to string. And then right here we can pad start, okay? How many characters do we need as a minimum? We need at least 2, and they are going to be 0, just like this. It's weird that we need to make 0 a string. I don't actually know if we need to, but I'm not going to try it here, right? You can try that in your own time. For now, probably should be a string because we are doing a string just to be on the safe side, okay? So that is helper function 2. Now we have a way to convert to something where we can do the math, and then a way to convert back to the format that we want when we're done. Now what we need is a way to actually calculate. And what I mean by that is get the delta. So we're going to pass in a result, and we're going to compare it to the leader, okay? And based on that, we're going to return what that time is, okay? So that looks like this. We have another function. Let's call this get delta, okay? Just like this. And we pass in 3 arguments, even though we only use 2, and I'll show you why in a second. So we pass in the time, okay? We're going to assume that it's a time. We pass in index. We will not be using index, so a good habit is to put an underscore in front of it, which tells TypeScript that we don't care about it, okay? And then all the way over here, we have our array, because for these functions, again, functional purity, we pass everything that we need into the function. We try not to use globals and stuff like that. And this gets the job done, okay? Which leads to this. So now we have this. We need to build out some variables here. So time in seconds equals 2 seconds time, okay? We do the same thing. Did I capture it? I don't even know. Oh, I totally did. Good. So this is going to be the lead in seconds, and that's going to be the first item of the array, right? So array 0, just like this. Excellent. The delta, okay? The delta is the difference. You could also put diff if you prefer that name. I've been using delta forever, so delta is what I'm going to stay with, and that is time in seconds minus the lead in seconds, because the lead is always smaller, okay? And we want a positive number. It's very important. This should very obviously be minus before I mess myself up, okay? And with that, we have everything that we need. So now we can actually return. We return something. Well, if it's if the delta is equal to 0, right? So technically we could have just checked for index equals 1 and return 0. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But if delta equals 0, because we've already entered the loop, it doesn't really matter, okay? We can go ahead and do this, okay? And what I mean by that is we're going to return one thing or the other, right? What are we going to return? Well, if delta is 0, then return a string of 0. And if delta is not a 0, then we format that time, okay? So format time based on the delta, just like this. And right out at the front, we have plus, okay? Plus, okay? We're putting them together. So here we are. Here are our 3 functions. And yes, we can do some other things. We'll look at that in a second. But this here, this get delta uses 2 seconds. And then we do that math to get the delta, and we return it using this format time function, okay? And that means that right here, this get delta, well, we can use that dot map get delta. And it works, okay? It absolutely does work. Works quite well. Now, I did say that if we wanted to use this index, we could, right? So if index equals 0, right, then we can return early with a 0. Sorry, I keep wanting to hit shift there. That's weird. And then down here, we do all the stuff. And this, instead of this, commenting it out so that we have it for reference later, we just return right here, okay? This should still work, not a problem, right? Because we've returned early. We no longer do all of this math based on the index 0, or we no longer do all this math for index 0. We're still referencing index 0 here. In fact, we could simplify this line. So I'm going to copy this and bring it down for a second, put it back in place. And instead of this, we can destructure right onto here and go lead, which means that we could capture this one, comment it away, bring it down, change this value to lead, right? And it still works, okay? So lots of little things that we could do in here to make our lives easier if we think that it would be easier to read the variables like this, okay? Easier to access. Returning early is always a good practice. But here we are, okay? And we did it again with by breaking it into pieces, okay? We have a piece that turns our time into seconds. We have a piece that turns our seconds back into a time. And we have a piece that calculates if we're returning just a flat 0 or a formatted time with a plus sign in front of it, okay? And then from there, we map, and we didn't have to do anything special in here. We could just use this getDelta function directly, which is why I set it up this way, okay? Again, lots of little changes in here where we can destructure and use different values and return early. Different ways to do it. I'm sure that there are others. Did you find others? Hit me up in those comments. Let me know what that looks like. Otherwise, today this is being cross-country skiing. Sorry, not seeing, cross-country skiing, which is Winter Games Day 5, right? So making good progress on that. And I will see you tomorrow.